Hi there, I'm Ian Willoughby, and you're most welcome to episode 11 of Czech Next Wave. This is a podcast produced jointly by the Czech Centres Network and Radio Prague International, dedicated to introducing top young talents from the Czech Republic to a global audience. And this time out, we have a very special guest, and somebody I've wanted to speak to for a very long time. That's the super exciting theatre director, Jiří Havelka. Jiří, who leads the acclaimed Vostok or Vostok 5 theatre company, is also an actor, playwright and teacher at Prague's Damu Drama School. And if that wasn't enough, he scored a major critical and commercial success with his movie debut Owners, which Vostok 5 also did as a theatre production. So let's listen now to my conversation with Jiří Havelka in this edition of Czech Next Wave. You're from Jihlava, where you co-founded a theatre company when you were at grammar school. As a teenager starting out in theatre, what was the thing that you most enjoyed about it?
Well, there were these two ways to meet the theatre scene. First was that we started to attend the city theatre, Horácké divadlo in Jihlava. It was at the same time when we also started to attend like a film club, and there was this big thing for us that there were these big floods in Moravia in the time, and that was why letní filmová škola, summer film school, couldn't take place in Uherské Hradiště, and they moved it to Jihlava at the time. And it was for us something striking, something totally like, oh, Jihlava can live in such a culture way. And we really started to love the movies, and it was also a big impact for us then to establish actually the festival of documentary movies as well. And this was in this period of time that we started to attend Horácké divadlo, and then there was this paper hanging on the wall at my grammar school saying, we are trying to put on stage Tolkien's Hobbit. Would you be interested in? And I was, okay, let's try it. And we were reading the text, and then I had the part of Hobbit, actually, of Bilbo Pitlik. I mean, that is how this school theater started, and it was probably the first touch with this life, with actually doing theater, and with the fact that you can be part of some community, and also in touch with the audience and all of this.
You studied alternative and puppet theatre at the Faculty of Drama at the Academy of Performing Arts here in Prague. Why did you go for those particular areas, alternative and puppet theatre?
To be very honest, I tried more ways how to get to. Well, actually, I quite remember the moment when a friend of mine, Jan Sprincel, who was the part of the school theatre and also really my close friend. We were 4 or 5 close friends who also started the festival of documentary movies in Jihlava, and he said that he's definitely going to try to study theater. And I was amazed that you can actually, do what you are doing right now as a fun, as a pure joy, and you can do it as on the academic level. I decided to try it as well. And he told me that there is this opportunity to go to Jamu in Brno, to Damu, and on Damu that they have 2 different departments. And without Jan Sprincel, I wouldn't know about it. And I tried all 3 of them, and I succeeded on this one, which was mainly caused by the fact how the entering exams were actually established, or how they were run in these 2 different departments. That on Činohra, on drama theater department, I was quite nervous and very tight, because there was this long table with people sitting on both sides. And at this department of alternative and the puppet theater, the pedagogues were sitting around round table, and I felt much more comfortable, and I did it. Yeah.
Did you learn how to puppeteer? Can you puppeteer? Are you still able to do that?
I can a bit, of course. We had a subject called animation, but not only like the animation with wires, not only marionettes, but also hand puppets and all the or the other possibilities. Mainly the lesson or the subject, the class called animation, was led by Marek Bečka from from Buchty a Loutky. And he was more doing this weird style of animation that it doesn't need to be, we were taught how to do it like properly, but then we were also encouraged a lot to, bring and find our own way of animation, actually whatever kind of object, not only puppet. So I can do it a bit, but I'm totally not expert.
You wear a lot of hats, Jiří. You're a director, playwright, actor, teacher. You've also been a TV presenter. And you also do improvisation with your theatre group, Vostopět. And I'm fascinated by improvisation because it seems so difficult. I'm sure you can learn it to some degree, but how much do you need some kind of native, inbuilt talent to do improv?
Well, it's a big question that won't be ever answered totally. And this question lies on the table at our department very often because it's hard. Of course, there are people who are more, let's say, free or open-minded for improvisation. They tend not to be controlled by themselves so much. But as you said, you can definitely learn some basics, and sometimes the persons that were totally unsecure and persuading themselves that they are not able to do improvisation, when they skip this and when they find a way how to transgress this self-control system, then usually they are even better, or they can really reach amazing levels of ability to improvise. But it's a very difficult word, improvisation, because you can hide behind it almost anything. We are all improvising in our lives every day, every second. And improvisation in this theater field is something different, and also many times mixtured with impro as like no preparation and going on stage is something different than impro as a method to to devise a play. I do this pure impro as an actor with Vosto 5 only, and I'm not sure if I can actually do it with anyone else, because you really need to have some special kind of connection with the people you want to go on stage without saying anything in advance. And the second example, the improvisation as a method how to gain actually theatrical material, is something that I'm still exploring. I'm still trying to understand it more and more, and that's why I would a bit disagree with you that I'm a playwright. I'm really more like deviser of a text with actors, with collaborators.
Well, I wanted to ask you, with this Vostopět or Vosto 5, how does it actually work when you create a new project? Do you have something written out vaguely in advance and then you workshop it, or what do you do?
It has changed quite a lot in time, of course. At the beginning, we were really like a group of people who studied at DAMU different departments, different branches, and we knew that we want to do this kind of generation theater. And we were doing these plays, as you said. Someone came with a theme or with a plot, and we started to improvise, to talk a lot about it, and slowly you got to very fixed actually form of something. And on the other side, from the very beginning, we also did this totally 100% free impro show. Actually, at the beginning, there was this cabaret. We called it cabaret because we bought a very old army tent for 1 Czech crown from Czech army. And we built that tent on each summer theater festival. And we needed to have a show for the tent. And we did these at the very beginning. We did these bridges, impro bridges between the numbers, and actually, of course, the bridges very much more slowly amusing us and also audience. So suddenly there were no numbers and there was only one big bridge, and that's how we started this pure impro. And these two lines are still present in Vosto 5, and maybe there is one more now, which is like kind of bigger shows we did in last 10 years that had actually a script, like Dechovka or Perák. And that was that I wrote something at the beginning, or we improvised and then I wrote the script, but it was not like only devised.
Josef Černoch, 52 let.
Irena Besedová, 25 let.
One of your most recent pieces is a video piece for the National Theatre here in Prague called Očitý svědek, or Eyewitness, and it's subtitled The Documentary Anatomy of a Mass Murder. It's about a massacre right after the end of World War II in June 1945 near Přerov. You also touched on a similar theme in the past with Dechovka, which you just referred to. What is your motivation for tackling this kind of subject?
Well, it also differs, I guess. The Dechovka case, brass band case, it was a very personal topic because with this school theater I mentioned before, we did these like summer tours through the villages around Tihlava, around our hometown. And Dobronin was one of our most favorite place where to play because the audience was very good there. And I knew it from my childhood, this village. And I remember the first time when I learned about what happened there after Second World War. And I didn't know at the very beginning actually what to do with that, it was too strong even for theater for me in the time. So I wrote a film script. It was totally different than what was on the stage after. And this other case, Eyewitness for National Theatre, it grew in me for quite a long time because first I learned about it when I was rehearsing in Bratislava in Slovak National Theatre 6-8 years ago. And I'm thinking right now what's in common for these things. I guess that it's actually the evil, the hatred that you can see in the case around, and mainly that it's uncovered, it's unfinished. There is this Czech word vyrovnání. I don't know actually how to translate it.
Coming to terms with is the best translation, probably.
This didn't happen and it's still open. It means it still hurts, and I'm totally shocked by what could happen just by the fact that someone was labeled by Germans or Czechs or Slovaks, that someone is like part of the group and you would put the label that they are enemies, and it's enough for all of the people who are involved not to do anything against the evil that is going to happen, and everybody knows about it.
Do you ever feel, though, that you are kind of preaching to the converted? Because anybody who goes to see Očitý svědek, Eyewitness, or to Dechovka in the past, probably those people wouldn't be the people who would think that murdering Germans at the end of the war is legitimate.
Of course, like these closed circles around any kind of art is very familiar with me, and I'm thinking about it a lot, and even more since I started to also be a pedagogue at DAMU. Actually, how to break this, how to do the theater really open for everyone. I think one of the ways you can try is that you really build the piece of art or the performance as a funnel. At the beginning, when I was studying, I was tending to like showing something, demonstrating my ideas or like my visions, and you have to be aware of the fact that you need to be understandable for anyone, and not in the sense of understanding the plot or like being aware what's happening, but in the terms of being engaged in that. And that means that I don't want to be experimental or very narrow for the first half an hour, and then I know where I want to lead the people, but first I need to catch them. So I think this is one of the way I'm trying to like really be widely open at the beginning. Yeah, you need to engage people. You need to be actually funny, even though Dechovka and Eyewitness are not funny, but you need to be maybe witty.
Seznam bodů k projednání jste všichni dostali do mailu, anebo do schránky.
Já žádný mail nemám.
Anebo do schránky.
One of Vostok 5's best-known plays is Vlastníci, Owners, which you made into a movie, and it's about owners of apartments who are in the same building and they come together for a meeting. I'm curious, how was it for you? That was your first movie as director. How much of a learning experience was it for you making your first film?
From my first step after the school to the professional scene in theaters, usually after I finished the play, someone came and said, this would be interesting to make it into the movie, you know, to translate it into on the screen. And it never happened because it's really different kind of industry than theater. It has many different levels of proving that that this should be the topic, and it's a question of money and so on. So it never happened, and I was a little bit. It was more like fun for me that again someone came and said like we should do something. But the case of Vlastníci was very different from the beginning because Marek Jeníček, who was the producer of Vlastníci, came to me and said, "Do you have something you would like to do as a movie?" And not, you know, coming after seeing the show and saying this would be nice to make a movie out of that. So actually, I wrote the script already for him with the movie vision, with the vision of film on the screen. And in the meantime, we improvised with Vostofy, which helped a lot for the script, for the film script. And these two lines were parallel, but they were like they had impact on each other.
If somebody asked me what is Czech humor, I would say, go away and watch this film called Vlastníci, Owners. How would you characterize Czech humor?
Well, everyone has a different sense of humor, and of course, I'm against any kind of generalization. But I would say probably that there is this. It's kind of relieving humor. We use humor as a as a weapon how to fight with our history actually, or with our status done by the history that we are a very small nation in the middle of Europe, partially emancipated but still searching for actually our position in the Europe. So I think this is kind of weapon of we can use it as a either like laughing at ourselves or laughing at a situation that actually reveals how, you know, weak we are. I don't know. It's hard to explain it, especially in English.
Did you feel that Vlastníci was in some kind of tradition of humorous movies or plays?
Not really. I was just I was really deeply touched by the personal experience during all the SVS I had to go through.
I should explain this means meetings of building owners. I've also experienced these things. They are terrible.
Yeah, they were. It was really like facing something that you know that you can't change it, and actually it's the key thing for, you know, moving on or moving further. So that was really horror for me always, and I wasn't actually even thinking about Vlastníci as a comedy. This is probably the perfect example of like the humor as a as a way how to survive, you know.
You filmed Owners Vlastníci in just 2 weeks. It was a huge hit. I'm sure producers are begging you to make another film. Have you got something planned?
Well, you are right that there were some offers, and there still are, and I'm a little bit chaotic person. It's very hard for me, and I'm struggling in you know, choosing the things because I would love to do everything. So it's a bit hard for me. But with Marek Jeníček, with the same producer, we are right now starting the preparations for the movie called Train Vlak. But I would like to call it Mimořádná situace. It's like the official name for any kind of accident that happened on the railways, you know. It's also based on the true story which happened a year and a half or 2 years ago on Vysočina, also very close to Jihlava at Velké Meziříčí. And it's a story of a train that goes from one small village to another small village, only one car train, and it stopped in the middle of nowhere and then slowly started to go backwards, and no one knows why.
Sometimes, at my most pessimistic, I think that live culture, music, theatre, festivals, and so on will never go back to what they used to be, let's say, a year and a half ago. What's your view of how things will look in the future when it comes to theatre, live music, all those kind of things, which must, of course, for you be so extremely important?
Well, I'm pretty sure of nothing. I'm not sure actually of anything, but I see theater as something so deeply interconnected with mankind that definitely theater will be here. Maybe a little bit different versions, but like always, it will be always like the one last oasis of really like personal meeting of the artists and their spectators, and of a time that goes, without being stopped all the time. There will be definitely changes in movies, or at least in the distribution of movies.
My final question, Jiří, something a bit lighter. You live on a houseboat on the Vltava in Prague. How is it living on a houseboat?
Living on a houseboat is perfect, especially in summer. In winter, it has some problems, and you need to take care of it much more than of normal apartment. But to be honest, I'm living in the flat in Radlice right now because we have small babies, my son small, and we decided to be there, and we are using houseboat for weekends, and maybe we are thinking now about moving there on for the summer period again. But of course, like, to wake up and see the swans around, it's something.
But isn't it really small inside? Whenever I go onto a boat and I go, down into, I don't even know what it's called, I think, God, this is so small. The kitchen is tiny, everything's tiny.
That's true, and I love I love small places. Actually, I'm not claustrophobic, but not small places. To be specific, I love that on a few square meters you can build the whole house. That I love caravans, vans, houseboats, because you can see that you don't need much for living. And when I go around a house where you could put 10 families and it's only for like a couple, I don't understand it. So I'm not very friendly with open spaces, even in these all working open spaces. And that's probably what I love about the houseboat. There is a kitchen, there is a small kid room, there is a bedroom, there is everything you need, but it's all very tiny. You are right.
Many thanks indeed to the super busy Jiří Havelka for finding the time to speak to me for this episode of Czech Next Wave. And apologies to you, listener, for the slightly imperfect sound at a couple of points in our conversation. This podcast is produced jointly by the Czech Centres Network and Radio Prague International, with a view to introducing people around the world to the very best of young Czech talent. This has been episode 11, so if you're listening for the first time, why not go back and check out some of the earlier ones? And of course, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. By the way, our theme music is produced by another talented young Czech, the highly funky jazz musician Andrej Pivec. That's all for now, folks. From me, Ian Willoughby, thanks for listening to Czech Next Wave, and talk to you again very soon.